Red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry. Unique New York, unique New York, unique New York. Ready?
Greetings, EastEnders fans, and welcome to another episode of Albert Square After Dark, your weekly EastEnders podcast. This week, discussing the episodes broadcast between the 2nd and the 5th of October 2023. Hello there. Hope you're well today. Joining me, and let me tell you, we're lucky she's here, unconscious. Ree is here with me. Tell me all about what you were doing at 4 o'clock this morning, Ree.
Well, it started at 2 a.m. actually, Rob.
2 a.m.
I was up with my toddler for 3 hours who just felt like getting up because, YOLO. So, yeah, I've covered my bags up quite well. Shouldn't have pointed that out, actually.
No, because now people will be looking for them. Yeah, no, bad idea.
Anyway, it's been a really fun morning and a fun night. And I'm just so ready to talk about EastEnders because I'm so wide awake.
You're wide awake. I mean, if it's any consolation, my dog woke me up at 6 o'clock this morning, wanting to be let out for a wee. I mean, it's not the same, but I didn't go back to sleep after 6 a.m. And I've got to drive later, so that's going to be fun. So basically, good luck to both of us today. If we end up saying something like Stacey goes into the Rovers, then please forgive us. All right, we'll get there. It'll be all right.
It may happen.
It may well happen. But what a week it's been. It's been a very, very, very good week. We have much to discuss. But first of all, new month, new Sharon. That is how it goes. It's the part of the podcast that all audio listeners love. As we change from September Sharon to October Sharon. Oh, it's Skinny Sharon. Skinny Sharon. Oh, that's a recent picture, isn't it? Ooh.
Yeah, but it doesn't look that recent because the hair's different, but I could be wrong.
I think that's a fairly recent picture. This is definitely in the Clenshaw era, I feel. For sure.
Oh, yeah, hang on. Yeah. Her hair just looks different. I don't remember that hairstyle.
It's not that recent because she's not in any of her sort of christening
lace numbers. Yeah,
that's if she's off to a wedding. But no, so that's October Sharon. We'll stick that on the wall in a moment. Right then, ladies and gents. Oh my goodness, what a week it was. We didn't think this week was going to be as big as it turned out to be. But Simon Ashdown once again delivered. My God, did that man deliver. So let's get cracking on with this week's Albert Square After Dark. Right, hold your horses. Before we get to the big stuff, we have some little mini stories that also occurred during the week to get through first. And we'll start with Jay and Nadine. And by the end of the week, Callum. Now, it didn't really play too much throughout the whole week until we got to the last episode of the week. Callum has discovered Nadine. Now, I think that... Where do you think this is going to go with Callum? I like that Callum's the one that saw it because I feel like Callum needed more involvement in like the whole sort of trio parenting story. So this is interesting, I think. What do you reckon?
I think he's going to keep it from Ben and it's obviously going to cause some rift between Callum and Ben.
Rift between Ben and Callum? That never happens. Surely not.
Alternatively, they're both sharing the same hallucination, so nothing might come of it, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, does this not put that to bed? Surely, unless
definitely.
Unless it gets revealed that, like, through Callum's eyes, Nadine is like a 4-foot brunette with like.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen that way, though. Yeah, so Callum came face to face with Nadine this week. Well, only because he bumped into her, literally, as he was going to the tube station, covered her in coffee, and she immediately tried to drum up business. You can't knock her entrepreneurial skills, to be fair.
Bold, didn't she? She might as well have flyers stood outside tube station, hadn't she?
It was literally the only time she kind of backed off was when he said, "I'm a policeman." He'd already told her that he was married. He told her that he was gay, and she wasn't bothered about either of those things.
No,
like, kind of applaud her. She knows she knows how to drum up some trade. Bless her. But she does, and turns out she lives right next door to the tube station. I didn't realise this.
That's what I was just about to say. Like,
I'd argue
they look fancy next to the tube station.
Well, we've made out that she's earning quite a bit, though, isn't she? She's able to pay off her student loans and everything. And I tell you what, I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but that's a good location for what she does. To be fair, isn't it? It's quite a good
Well,
location.
this is what I were thinking, but the noise would be, it'd drive me nuts, all noise from tube
I
and
think you get
underground,
used.
wouldn't
I
it?
think you get used to that sort of thing. To be
Yeah.
honest with you, I do think you get used to it, but that's another matter. And I think it lowers the property values anyway, especially not in London. But yeah, so Jay is witnessed by Callum going into Nadine's flat. Now, I think at this stage there's still actually nothing sexual going on between them. I think he's just using her as a comfort blanket. You know, she wears the
Yeah.
perfume and then he's able to sleep. I think is effectively. But
Yeah.
the problem is that he is starting to sort of miss out on stuff with Lexi, and Ben's getting annoyed about it. So yeah, I think as soon as Ben finds out about this, then it's all going to get a bit messy, isn't it?
Yeah, just a bit, but I don't think he's going to find. I don't know. We've not seen much yet, so I don't know how long it's going to take before Ben actually finds out. I don't know, but yeah, he's not going to be impressed. I'm just scared that Lexi's going to see him because now that Callum's seen him, maybe Lexi will be the one who tells Ben, and then it'll transpire that Callum already knew, etc., etc.
Yeah, well, this is going to be the thing that sort of is the main problem is Lexi, isn't it? Like, anybody, if anything else was going on, it'd be like, do you know what, you do you. If that's what you need to do to kind of cope with your grief, it might not be the most healthy thing you could do, but you know, do that for now. But with Lexi being involved and the fact that she does literally look like Lola, it makes it a little bit more complicated. So I'm pleased that Callum is involved in this because I've been saying for months now that Callum needs his own little branch. I mean, it's still connected to everything else that's going on. It's not necessarily his own story, which I do think he's crying out for. But I'm glad that he's involved. So it'll be interesting to sort of see how Callum deals with this. So yes, I think more to that next week. So for now, that's that on Nadine and Jay. We'll move on now to Whitney. On to Whitney and Zack now, and they have been taken through to the next stage in their fostering sort of wants and aspirations, through to the next round, as though it's like the X Factor. I don't think I knew how fostering and stuff works. I didn't think it was like rounds. I thought you kind of just got accepted and then you sort of began the fostering process. But fair play, it should be quite a thorough process. I do agree with that. She had to go through a little bit of a kind of inward thing to sort of have this meeting with this woman who came around to see how suitable Whitney and Zack were for the fostering program. She had to talk about Tony, which was some interesting stuff. It was all themed around Monday's episode, which we'll talk about more when we get to the Stacey story. The Monday episode was very much sort of themed around kind of what women have to go through when there's sick men around them. And there was a little bit of me that kind of wondered whether Whitney's story, whether Whitney's segment in that maybe felt a little bit sort of, I don't know if shoehorned is the right word, but sort of like was there just to make up the numbers for that section of the story. Do you know what I mean?
A bit forced to like
Maybe.
fit in with the theme of the episode. You mean?
Yeah, like it was well done in itself, but I don't know because it was kind of presented as though this was something that Whitney. I mean, obviously, this whole thing with what went on with Tony is never ever going to leave Whitney, but the way it was presented sort of felt like she was still kind of trying to process it and still trying to get over it, which you kind of feel like Whitney had sort of moved on to the next kind of stage of her life away from it. But it was.
I think maybe if last week we'd seen a little scene where Zack maybe said to her, they might bring up Tony, it wouldn't have felt as forced.
That's true.
But because
yeah.
we've not heard anything about him in such a long time, it were a bit out of the blue for us, weren't
Yeah.
Because we've all forgotten about it, but that don't mean that Whitney has and that she don't deal with
never
stuff
will.
every day, of course.
No.
But yeah, I think it just felt a little bit random for us, didn't it?
Yeah, but in itself, it was very, very well done. I thought Shona McCarthy was really, really good this week. It makes me gonna realise how much I'm gonna miss Whitney when she goes.
I'm a huge Whitney fan. I'm gutted that she's going. I'm really gutted.
Am.
But I'm just constantly watching now to be like, how are they going to write her out? Like,
I have no idea at this stage because at the moment, Whitney seems to be kind of really kind of happy that the fostering thing is going. So I don't get how she leaves at this point at all. It doesn't seem like there were. I mean, obviously we must be in some way on the road towards her exit, but I don't get how we get there from this point onwards at all.
The only thing I can think is there's time yet for Zack to change his mind and said, you know what, I don't think this fostering malarkey is for me, actually. And then he'll go, well, I still want to do it. And then she just relocates. That's the only thing I can think. I
mean, what do you think? Do you think maybe that like they might get a kid, they might start fostering someone, and then it just turns out to be far too much for either or both of them?
This is what I'm wondering. Are they going to get to, boot camp stage of this fostering journey? And,
Yeah.
Zach might go, actually, do you know what? Now it's getting a bit more real. I don't think I can
I'm not in.
deal
I'm
with
not
it.
in for. I'm not in for the fame. You know what I mean? I don't feel like.
Yeah,
I don't think I
yeah.
can handle this process. It's good though. I like. Fostering isn't something that we see on soaps all that often. I think the last time that we saw fostering in EastEnders was probably when the. Do you remember? Was it Miriam and her husband? I can't remember what. I can't remember. It was. It was Masood's aunt and uncle from quite a few
Oh,
years
yeah,
back. Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
liked
yeah,
them. It's a
yeah.
shame. It's a shame that. But I think that's the last time that we've really.
Mariam.
Mariam, that
Mariam?
was it. Yes,
Yeah.
Mariam. See, sideness. I told you it's kicking in. But I really liked them, and I thought it was a shame that we didn't see more of the fostering
Mm.
process. But then, to be fair, it's not like we're going to see a huge amount of the fostering process here because we know that Whitney's leaving. So it's kind of a shame in that regard. But yeah, I can't think how Whitney's going to go at this stage. Maybe, like you say, it might just prove to be a little bit too much for Zack and a little bit too much for Whitney because Zack at first wasn't keen on this idea at all. So maybe
No.
that might rear its head again at some point.
It's interesting that now they know that she's leaving, that they've decided to go down this route with her as well. So it must be related to this that she's
Yeah.
leaving. Because otherwise, why do it?
Why do it? Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't
Mm.
think they're going to kill Whitney off. That would be insane to kill Whitney off. So I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah,
I'm pretty sure they're not. Yeah.
No,
Little
never.
spoiler, but I think I've seen something. Whether it's
Oh,
true.
oh.
Can I
Go on then. You say it. Yeah, you've warned. Yes.
spoiler? I saw a
Spoiler siren.
I saw a TikTok with Shona McGarty on.
Oh
Has anyone
yes.
ever seen that? There's quite a few fans who hang around outside the studio and do videos and stuff.
Yeah.
Security Pete, he's the guy.
Yeah.
And there's a video with Shona driving, and someone said, "Are you being killed off?" And she said, "No, I can confirm I'm not being killed off."
Oh well, that's good. But I bet she wasn't
Whether
supposed
that's
to.
true,
I bet she wasn't supposed to do that. But that's good.
no. I hope someone else has seen this and I'm not making it up and like I
You
dreamt
dreamt
about it or
this
something.
in
I
a
am sleep.
in a hallucinogenic, sleep deprived moment. You just dreamt of this moment about Shona McGarty.
No, I definitely saw that. Yeah. So
Yeah,
anyway, as far as I know, she's not being killed off, which is
that's
great.
good. But yeah, as much as maybe Monday did feel maybe a little bit odd, I thought the scenes itself were really, really good. I love Zack and Whitney together. Again, this is something else that's kind of makes you sad that Zack and Whitney are really, really well suited. So again, it's going to be sort of tearing this really nice to watch couple apart, which is quite sad. The one thing I would say is that it does kind of open the door for more Zack material that he can then branch off to the rest of the square once Whitney's disappeared. Obviously, we know that Sam's coming back, and those two were quite well suited. So it's not like
Yeah.
Zack's going to be devoid of options. But yeah, it's going to be a shame to sort of lose Zack and Whitney. Zitney, whack,
Zitney?
whack. I quite like whack.
Whackney?
Whackney.
Whackney,
Yeah,
maybe?
I quite like Whackney. That should do. Right then. I mean, do let us know in the comment section below any theories about how you feel that Whitney might be leaving. We don't think she's going to be killed off because hallucinated a TikTok video. However, please let us know in the comment section below how you think Whitney might be going. Final story before we get to the Stacey, Theo, and Freddie extravaganza, and that is Kathy and Rocky, and a bit of Sonia and Reese thrown in as well. Not a huge amount to discuss here, apart from the fact that maybe a few little seeds are being set. We get the impression that Rocky is doing a little bit of gambling because he's worried about the money that is coming, which kind of literally fuels the fire. That Rocky may well be looking for a little bit of an insurance jobby sometime soon. What do you think? I think it's pretty much obvious that's where it's going to go now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's safe to assume that Rocky's going to set fire to the cafe at some point for an insurance job. And I mean, Kathy piled pressure on a bit, didn't she? He tried to do something nice, get her a little takeaway, spice things up a little bit, literally. She ain't keen.
You kind of get the feeling that Kathy and Rocky were on a little bit of rocky ground at the moment. Because obviously they're still living with Sonia and Reese, and that's not going well because Sonia and Reese keep practicing their instruments, so to speak, in the living room.
And that's not a euphemism.
It's not an instrument. They're doing a brass band, kind of, it seems like every day in the living room. And they haven't even really got to the point where they're going much beyond Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, is what they were playing at one point, which is literally like one of the first songs that you learn, I think, when you're playing any musical instrument in the world apart from the triangle, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. So that's not going well. So I think that Kathy is kind of wanting to move, but they obviously can't afford to go anywhere else at the moment. Meanwhile, Sonia and Reese went for all their first sort of IVF appointments, sort of tested to see if it worked. Didn't work out. So Reese is going to have to fork out some more money for that. So that's kind of still going on in the background. I do wonder how far they're going to get into that before the truth comes out.
I'm wondering, I would have liked to have seen why it didn't work and whether they're going to expand just a little bit on that next week as to what
Well, they sort of did that
exactly
last week.
didn't work.
They did that last week, didn't they? Because they said that there was only going to be a 40% at the most chance of success every single time. So I think that sort of covered.
But which bit didn't work? The egg retrieval? She already done the egg retrieval?
It just
or
didn't
was
work.
it the?
I don't know.
If you're going to do it, let us just let us know like which bit it was that didn't work. I'm just interested. I'm invested now.
I think it sounds. You didn't want to know last week. You changed your mind now. Have you?
I wanted them to, give me some more info.
They were giving you loads of info last week, and you weren't interested. Then now you've changed your mind. Honestly,
I know. Sorry, you can't win with me.
No, you can't. I've been trying for years, and it's never worked since. I don't know why I'm bothering to start now. So yeah, that's all kind of going on. Like I say, I wonder when. I feel like the most dramatic way of doing this would be that Sonia eventually gets pregnant, and then the truth comes out, and Sonia's sort of left with the situation of what the hell do I do now?
Yeah.
But I don't know whether it depends. It depends how lucky they're going to get, how unlucky they're going to get as to whether it actually works or not, because the chances aren't great, like under half. So, I mean, I know this is soap, and someone like Sharon is walking around, who I read, right, Sharon. So obviously she had an infection down there years ago because of the abortion that she had. And then because of her age, I saw a magazine that said that literally because of Sharon's age and the infection that she'd had down below, she should have been at about a 0.001% chance of getting pregnant with Albie, and even Dennis, to be fair. But she knocked the odds out of the park. So anything's possible with maternity in Walford. Anyone can get pregnant. Well, the chances are irrelevant in some cases. Sonia should have been sat there at that consultation table and said, you want to meet my mate Sharon? If you're going to start throwing statistics at me, I ain't interested in your statistics. Anything's possible. It's fine. So yeah, Kathy and Rocky, I think we're just going to slow, because Rocky's starting gambling a bit more. He's getting desperate for some money, isn't he? So that's interesting. Yes, I wonder where that's going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Right, that's about it for that. So again, all of those little stories, I think, were sort of planting seeds to what's to come next week or over the coming weeks, sort of just to fill the time. And the main spectacle of the week is what we are finally going to start talking about now, and that is Stacey, Theo, and Freddie. Right then, ladies and gents, on to the big story of the week. And it was so big, I thought that this was going to be the only story of the week. Oh, mind-blowing. Oosh. Like, what madness. So...
we were expecting it, Rob.
No, I wasn't expecting it to be anywhere near as big as it turned out to be. I really, really wasn't. It was mental. So we start on Monday's episode. The court case has arrived. And I don't think there was anybody that was surprised with the way it turned out, really. I don't think anyone was expecting Theo to lose the case. I don't think it was surprising.
Except for Stacey and Jean.
Except Stacey. But even that, I think it was sort of like more hoping than thinking it was going to work. It was going to work out. It's war for police. Do you know what I mean? Their gathering of evidence was never going to impress anybody. Although you kind of feel that that's probably representative of how a lot of these cases kind of play out.
Oh, 100%. I think there wasn't any concrete evidence, so to speak, was there? And I was impressed that the detective sergeant had Stacey's back so much, and that he were actually taking her side.
That police detective sergeant type person, I don't think we've ever seen anybody quite as good as in Walford Police as that bloke. He clearly doesn't belong in Walford Police. He wants to be moved up to Scotland Yard or something. That guy, I tell you, he was really, really good.
I was surprised at how much he had her back, because really the evidence weren't, concrete, which is why obviously they didn't get the SPO. But he was saying it all like, "Come on, it's in front of you," like.
Yeah. But yeah. Well, he was dealing more with the emotional aspects of it and sort of the emotional turmoil that Stacey's going through. And unfortunately, he was telling it to this dinosaur of a judge who you kind of knew straight away, right? You have got a preconceived idea about what somebody who does cam work is going to be like, what they are opening themselves up for. You're basically, this is going to be the sort of bloke that kind of think, well, if you don't cam work, then you've consented to all of this.
You're asking for it.
Yeah,
not
you're
saying
asking
that
for
that's
it.
what, but that's
no,
what
but that's probably that would have been his frame of mind, because he even turned around at the end and called it a waste of time and a waste of police work, which was just like incredible, considering what Stacey's gone through. To be told everything that she's complained about was a complete and utter waste of police time. Madness.
Oh yeah, and it was like, oh well, you've already ruined his career, so you've done enough now. So that's enough. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is it? Right. Well, he's still living next door to her. But Detective
This is
Sergeant
it.
said she can't even open the curtains. Like,
yeah.
Right, okay, yeah.
This is the madness of it. And it's not even ruined his career, because now he's been found innocent. He's the school's like, oh, all right, fair play, come back then. Which is just absolute madness. But like I say, probably completely and utterly relatable to a lot of women that have had these sort of stalking problems. I think actually, in hindsight, the whole camera work thing and the way that they've sort of brought Theo in and the way that that's all sort of played out, it's actually been really quite clever, hasn't it? The way that it's all sort of played out over quite a long period of time. Like, all of this goes all the way back to when Freddie just wanted to confront a teacher that had bullied him a bit at school. And you forget that about Theo, I think, that we forgot that side of Theo, because for a little bit he was just sort of this sort of affable, slightly awkward guy who were like, oh no, he's all right, really. Clearly he was just having a bad time with Freddie. But you forget about the fact that this is a guy who will bully and belittle and manipulate, and it's sort of slowly been drip-fed into the story as time has gone on. It's actually been a really, really strong story, I think. There's been moments where you've been sort of like, oh, come on, Stacey. But at the same time, you're almost sort of leaning into victim blaming ever so slightly there, because it's kind of like, well, that's how these people work. They sort of walk into these people's lives and make them believe that they're okay to be around, even if to everybody else it's ridiculously obvious what's going on. As long as it's not obvious to the victim, then that's irrelevant. It's interesting.
I think we mentioned before she was just so desperate to have somebody tutor Lily and make sure she didn't lose out on school, that somebody coming along and saying, I'll do it for free. She's like, yeah. Done. That's one less thing to worry about next. What's next thing?
Yeah.
So yeah. It were a very hard watch though, didn't you think? In the court, when they were destroying Stacey's character, and like we said, basically saying she were asking for it in a way.
And like we said with the Whitney storyline, it all sort of was based around women and the fact that, women have to deal with this on a fairly regular basis. So, I mean, that's an interesting theme, right? And it's a perfectly correct message. I saw a little bit of traction online with a few people saying, a few men, obviously, saying, oh, I'm getting a bit bored of seeing all men are bad narrative going on, which...
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking here as a man and a woman doing this, which is kind of helpful in a podcast scenario. Like, this is quite good that we've kind of got that both perspectives on it. I sort of get that in a way, because it's very easy to look on Twitter and find so many threads everywhere saying, oh, why are all men like this? And why are all men doing this? And why are all men like that? And it's sort of like, we're not all like that. Okay. And I think the episode did an all right job in sort of saying, well, actually, they're not all like that, because look at Zack, look at Martin, look at Freddie. There's some men that are perfectly great people.
Well, to be fair, I kind of understand that point at the start, because when Stacey was talking to Charlie before the court case and we had a little voiceover, she was saying, there's very bad men out there, but then she did say, but they're not all bad, and we have to look after the good men there, because we all look after each other. So I think that it was quite well balanced when she started saying that bit. So, and I think for men to say, oh no, this, that, and like, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. People need to know. If anything, it's opening up the discussion for you to think about, your
behaviour.
Think that things that men do. Yeah, exactly. No, sorry. From my point of view, I think it's a really important topic to bring up.
Yeah. Well, you would say that as a woman, wouldn't you? You would say that.
Well, I'm not even going to mention the latest politics that's gone off in our country. I mean, Rishi Sunak's latest speech.
I mean,
anyway.
actually, yeah. To be fair, I mean, what a week we've had outside of EastEnders to sort of perfectly demonstrate what this storyline was actually trying to tell us this week. I mean, everything that was going on with Lawrence Fox. Thank you very much for illustrating that. Like the fact that there are some men that just see women as nothing other than sort of sexual objects, and or like their only sort of credible source is how, and I quote, shaggable they are. You know, that's going on. It's like, and so you wonder why men are getting kicked about this all the time. Like it's a thing. Like open your eyes.
I was actually thinking, can you imagine if this was the other way around? So imagine that it was a male trying to get the SPO against a female.
Yeah.
The female would be getting painted as being, quote, a bunny boiler, right? Wouldn't she? And I think it'd be very different if it was the other way around. And I think that I could be wrong, but I could just imagine if it was the other way around, that the woman would be getting into a lot more trouble than the man is, because they've painted Stacey into almost a hysterical character, saying, you know, she's got children with 3 different fathers, she's done all this. I can't believe they brought that up.
Yeah, that was
so
mad.
I just
but
so I think it's
but there was an interesting segment to this as well, because obviously Monday's episode was written by Jessica Barnes, a woman. Okay. Now, and like I say, I thought Monday's episode was really, really well written and constructed. Like, maybe like I say, you know, the Whitney stuff might have felt a little bit sort of put in just to kind of complete the theme of the episode, but that's irrelevant. But what was interesting was then what happened on the next episode, because Freddie came face to face with Graham again. Really amazing twist, by the way. I didn't see this coming at all. Some people did. I didn't see the Theo being Graham twist coming at all. I was stunned by the end of Monday's episode.
Oh no, 100%. As soon as he said he had a message from Graham, I went, that's obviously Theo.
How? I didn't see that.
No. Because they built it up last week with him pretending to be Bradley and then pretending to be. So I thought. I did think, as soon as he got a Facebook thing, it was a social media friend request and a message on, it's obviously Theo. I thought that was quite obvious, personally.
Went over my head completely. I didn't see that coming at all. So I got quite a satisfying duffed up on Monday, because I was like,
yeah.
And then everyone else was kind of, because I even said on Twitter, oh my God, you won't see the ending coming. And people were like, how did you not see that coming? I was like, all right, God. But yeah, what was interesting was obviously that everything was going on with Freddie. He came face to face with Graham again, and he was kind of revisiting all those things of like, oh God, what if I turn into my dad? What if I'm becoming like him? Then he's in Peggy's, and he gets accused of a false accusation. He gets a false accusation of being groped by this woman. Now, where were you on of everything that was being said and the theme of the episode on Monday, written by a woman? And then obviously Tuesday and Wednesday were written by Simon Ashdown, a man. And then we went from the stories that were being discussed on Monday's episode about men and women. And then on Tuesday's episode, we saw a false accusation of groping by a woman. Like that was, I don't know whether I felt it. I thought it was felt maybe a little bit clumsy compared to like next to the message that we were getting on Monday, or whether it was actually deliberate and was just literally just supposed to evoke all sorts of discussions and showing that it's not all as black and white as that.
I think it was more a device to show that Freddie had such a bad night and being accused of something similar to that.
So it wasn't.
But you're right, it was a clumsy thing to do after the message that he's sending out on Monday, that a woman's wrongly. Having said that, right, Freddie didn't intend to grope her or anything.
No, not at all.
But you've got a drunk woman in a club. I did notice he grabbed her, you know, like on the waist to stop her from falling. It wasn't deliberate.
It was all that was all he
genuine,
did. Yeah.
But you know, maybe a drunk woman who's used to maybe getting touched in a club, because it does happen, honestly.
Oh, I know it happens.
People might think.
I know it happens.
Maybe she did genuinely think. Because in her state, maybe she did genuinely think that, which is why Freddie was like, oh my God, I'm not like that.
Yeah.
But in fairness, if somebody did turn around and said, that's not what I meant to do, you know, and you can tell when someone's genuine or not, I think. But yeah, it was a bit clumsy. I agree with what you're saying.
Well, what was interesting as well was then when he went and spoke to Stacey about it, Stacey was coming up, turning around to him and saying, well, you must have done something. You must have tried to make her feel uncomfortable in some way. Even though she knows Freddie, she knows that he would never do anything like that. It didn't occur to her for a second that the woman had made it up or had been sort of trying to cause problems or was kind of short. Because that, which again was something that I found kind of, I don't know what the word is, but it was sort of, I didn't know whether the 2 episodes and the 2 sort of scenarios gelled that well in what they were trying. I don't know.
They could have maybe just had a different scenario where it weren't to do with a woman. That would have been enough to have got Freddie worked up about something. I know exactly what you're saying, and I can't think of the word for it. I understand why Stacey said that in her position. Had she not just gone through what she'd gone through in court, she probably would have said, "Oh, that's not very fair that somebody's accused you. I know you. I know that you're not that kind of guy." But because of what she'd had going on,
I mean, yeah, this
her
is the other thing
instinct
as
was
well.
to go, "I'm sticking up for the woman because I'm
Of
sick of
course.
women getting, you know."
I get that, and I get that completely. You know, and he also had Anna with him at the time. Who was like, "What are you on about? You slap her," which you know,
he wasn't going to hear a slapper like you. I loved that.
yeah. So you know, he did have a female sort of branch of support with him that knew what had happened and knew that he. But yeah, I think that was the thing, that because Stacey was obviously going through what she was going through, she was hypersensitive to anything like that. So maybe she sort of was she was just in that headspace rather than sort of looking at the person in front of her and going, "Well, of course you didn't do that," you know. But it was, I don't know. I don't know whether everything they were trying to do there landed necessarily in the sense of whether it worked well together, or even if they were supposed to be considered as a whole. You know, it's
I know what you said. I think, like I say, it was more a device so that we could see that Freddie were getting accused, and it's adding to this fear that he might be like his dad. Maybe we should have seen this girl beforehand rather than that one little thing, and seen that she had genuinely got touched up by someone prior to it or something, and there were a bit of context to her reaction then. Otherwise, it did seem a bit misplaced with the message that they're trying to send, definitely.
Because there are girls, you know, let's not pretend there are girls out there who kind of quite like causing trouble like that. You know, I've seen, I've had friends accused of situations like that who I know as well as Freddie wouldn't do something like that, you know, and they've got their sort of big, pretty much exactly how this played out. They've got their big meathead boyfriend to cause trouble and clearly just enjoyed the situation that they've created. That does happen, okay? But it's just interesting because the fact that it was Freddie, who we know he's the last, especially seeing as though what he was thinking about at the time. Of course, he's not about to just go and do something like that. It was just, I don't know, it was interesting. But like you say, it was basically just being used as a device to sort of mess Freddie up a little bit more because he was so terrified about turning into his dad. Then when he instantly had an accusation thrown at him, that sort of pushed him a bit further off the rails. So that by the time he ended up in Stacey's kitchen, he was in one hell of a state. Now then, Stacey and Theo stuff by that point, my God. Now, I saw a few people kind of kicking off online about the bit where Stacey wanted to be on her own. And I sort of got that. I got that she wanted to be on her own, just sort of do something normal. I understood that. That didn't strike me as odd whatsoever.
Well, I get why people be saying it, because were it really a good time to leave her on her own? Clearly not.
Well, no.
But I get it that she wanted her own space. Totally, I understand.
But people were reluctant to leave her.
Yeah.
You know, she was kind of like, no, because they were all like, no, of course we're not going to go into Cats. Of course we're not going to leave. She was like, no, just go. I'm fine. Just let me be on my own and do something normal like ironing for a moment. I didn't see it coming at all. Fantastic.
Did not see that coming. No.
But yeah, no, I kind of got it. I kind of get, well, you know, I'll lock the doors. Everything will be fine. I just want to sort of eat a pizza and watch the telly and just sort of forget that today happened. You know, I got it. It made sense to me, I suppose.
It would have probably been on the condition that you have your phone next to you at all times,
oh, yeah.
just in case, rather than on charging kitchen. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you say. Oh, yeah. She should be allowed to be on her own, but clearly she wasn't safe to be on her own, was she?
She certainly
He'd
wasn't.
already broken into house before. Well, not broken, you know, got access
let himself in. Yeah, exactly. But he ended up going through a window. And just suddenly, I mean, the terror that must have gone through Stacey at that moment when she walked in, she thought everything was locked up, she thought she was safe, and then she just walks into the kitchen and he's just standing there. Like,
well, do you remember me saying last week that I was a little bit confused where Theo's mind was at with all this and whether he thought it was reciprocated or not in his head?
Yeah.
And he clearly does still think that it's been a lover's tiff and it's all just a huge misunderstanding, and that you know, this Romeo and Juliet, and, you know, I'll forgive you, Stacey, for what you've done today with the court case and the job, you know, blah, blah, blah. So then before he went and broke in, didn't he? They had that little altercation in the square where Stacey was like,
that was good.
Oh, no, loved you. That were,
honestly,
as soon as that bit were on, I was like, something's going to happen. I could tell with camera shots.
Yeah,
because
she'd pushed him too far. I mean, this is the thing. Get Simon Ashdown writing material for Lacey Turner and you've got fire. Like, honestly, the pair of them just are the alchemy between Simon Ashdown's writing and Lacey Turner's acting. Because Simon Ashdown is like clearly a massive fan of Stacey. Like he was instrumental in a lot of Stacey's biggest stories, you know, Who Killed Archie, the bipolar stuff, the Max and Stacey affair. Like he's basically been there as sort of the key writer for a lot of her journey. So he knows Stacey inside out. He knows how to make her talk. And now he's even got the great opportunity of being able to do it further with Lily, who also had a fantastic week. Like Lily's stuff was brilliant, where she had a go at Theo and she was, you know, worrying about how good a mum she was going to be and getting I mean, after the night you had last night, you could probably relate to what Lily was going through this week, right?
Oh, wow. Honestly, 13, I just can't imagine it. I can't imagine it at all.
No, madness. But yeah, so we lead up to Stacey and Theo being in the kitchen together. And no other way to put it, Theo tries to rape her. Like it's sort of the way that it was kind of built, and sort of it's that classic thing that Simon Ashton always managed to do so well. Like he is the master of sort of just slow burning tension and sort of getting to the peak of the episode, and so by the end of the episode you're like, oh, like you're on the edge of your seat about to fall off it. It's just amazing.
My heart was pounding in my chest the entire time. I was like, this is it. I remember thinking in my head, we kept saying, no, I can't do out worse. Why didn't I think, like, the most obvious, the worst thing that he could try and do? Yeah.
All that. And the thing is, I didn't know how it was going to end either, because, you know, when he was when it became obvious what he was about to do, it was kind of like, how does she get out of this? Are they actually going to have Stacey get raped again? Oh my God. Like,
that's what I thought.
It genuinely landed in my head that, oh my God, Stacey's going to get raped again. Like there wasn't a moment, there was a small moment where I didn't see Freddie bursting in. But when Freddie did burst in, my Lord almighty.
But when he was just shouting, Stace,
yeah.
Stace, when he first got in, I was like, just go to the kitchen. Sorry, I swore then, but oh my God, go to the kitchen.
But then when he walks in, I mean, again, you could sort of see the I thought that it wasn't made of a huge amount of thing, but you could sort of see that initial sort of relationship that I spoke of earlier between Freddie and Theo sort of seemed to come to the front there quite a lot as well. But then, you know, with Theo being a bully and sort of talking down to Freddie and everything, Freddie punches him, Theo punches him back. It was all kind of ridiculous.
And then, even when Freddie's punched him, Theo's punched him back, he's like, Freddie, she wants it. It's like, you're going to do it in front of him.
Yes,
still advancing towards her. What are you doing?
Madness, absolute madness. And then Freddie grabs the iron. I didn't even register the iron. I really, really didn't. When the iron was sat there for the entire scene, I was kind of like, right, clearly Freddie... I'd worked out that Freddie was going to do something bad to Theo when he was in the kitchen. I was like, okay, so that's going to be the duff. But I still didn't register the iron until he grabbed it. And then it took me a second to sort of work out the significance of the iron. And I was like, oh, you clever bastards, EastEnders. Like, stand up and applaud. Like...
I thought as soon as he picked iron up, I was like, Mo. Yeah, just straight away. Brilliant.
Perfectly done. It was fantastic. Really, really, really clever, and didn't feel forced, because sometimes those parallel moments can you sort of almost roll your eyes and think, all right, you had your very good, well done. But this, it worked perfectly. It was so clever the way it was done. And he proper went for him, just like Mo did with Trevor. You know, I watched that clip again this week, and you sort of remember Mo kind of whacking Trevor with the iron maybe a couple of times, but actually she full on goes for it. Like once he's on the floor and sort of clearly isn't moving that much, he makes a little movement and she goes for him again and whacks him into the floor with it. Like it's just as Freddie was doing with Theo. It was just really, really well paralleled. Very, very, very good. Great stuff.
But did he lose it, Rob?
I think he did lose it. I think he lost it, and he scared himself as well, which was interesting. We've seen Freddie kind of go a little bit off the rails a little bit when he gets drunk. So maybe Freddie should not get drunk. So I think that's maybe something he should make a note of himself for, possibly.
He maybe shouldn't get drunk in that state that he was in before. We're already so upset. What a great idea, Anna. I think you need a drink. Yeah, that's clearly what Freddie needs right now when he's like so upset. Like,
I don't think she thought he was going to nearly kill someone with an iron, though, to be fair.
Well, no, I don't think any of us thought that, to be fair. But yeah, it was quite the duff. I was sat on the edge of my seat. But then I thought,
you sent me a picture. You sent me another picture, didn't you, of yourself looking all gobsmacked?
That episode.
Yes, I was.
Mate, honestly, I could
Yeah.
not believe it. But then I thought Stacey had a bit of cheek and to go,
What
Freddie,
you
what have
done?
you done?
What you done?
Like,
What
he's
do you do
just
that
gave
for?
your
Do you realise how
ass.
hard it is to get blood out of the lino? For God's sake, what's the matter with you? I mean, but then obviously
Obviously,
we're going to the next episode, and this is where I kind of got, because Eve turns up. And Eve was the perfect solution to everything that was going. Eve was the perfect person to turn up at that moment. You know, you kind of, well, as soon as Eve walked in, there was a side of you kind of thought, oh, it's going to be fine. Eve's here.
Yeah.
Everything's fine. Eve will know what to do. Eve's absolutely fine. Perfect person to walk in. So, did you get a bit confused as to what they were actually trying to create here with the wrench and everything? Because actually, what they did was tell the truth until they got to the part where Theo had a wrench. Was essentially, you know, they just added the wrench to what had actually happened.
I mean, I don't understand why Eve agreed to that being a good idea. Obviously, Eve on the previous episode had seen what state Freddie were in before, so she could understand why he went off the way that he did.
Yeah.
But then to suggest, oh yeah, well, if we had a weapon, it's more self-defense. Eve's a lawyer. Who are we to say? Actually, she knows that he would have got off more Eve, because there were a weapon involved.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that he were about to attack Stacey, you know, about to rape her, and then still seemed like he were going to do it in front of Freddie, to be honest.
Yeah, mad. Yeah,
is that not enough for him to have? I mean, obviously, he carried on a bit.
Yeah.
But even though he had a wrench in his hand and he carried on, like, I don't think there were any need to involve a wrench.
I think what they were doing,
I think they overcomplicated it.
Yeah, maybe. I think that's what they probably ended up doing, and I think that's where they tripped themselves up. Because I think what they were doing was because in their minds, I think what they were saying that, like, they'd already had a judge turn around to Stacey and go, "You've wasted police time. You've brought this whole completely on yourself because you've got 3 kids with 3 different fathers. So get out of my courtroom." So they had that in Stacey's mind for a start. Okay, so the police are clearly just going to think that I got angry and battered him one. So we need to avoid that. And then, of course, the fact that Freddie was clearly going through some stuff and had got drunk and had clearly gone a bit too far with it. I think they thought that the wrench would kind of strengthen their story.
Yeah, of course. I understand the panicked reasoning.
That's what it was. It was blind panic.
Yeah.
I think that got them to that point, wasn't it? Just absolute blind panic. There was a little moment where Stacey was going to go into Theo's house. I thought that she was going to go into his flat and just discover a shrine to herself or something like.
Same.
Yeah, might have been a little bit cliched because that's sort of the stalker sort of room 10, like Stalker 101, you know. But I felt like they could have earned it. I thought that could have been quite an effective moment. What she actually did was go into his car and find her underwear, find her perfume that he stole all those weeks ago. Which, again, can you imagine finding that when you know they're yours?
So grim.
Gross.
So grim. Yeah, I mean, he deserved it. Sorry.
He did. He had it coming. So the ambulance and the police eventually turn up after they've sort of done everything with the wrench and sort of Eve's sort of been told to get out because you can't go back to prison. So he's sort of like, right, okay, I'm leaving this in your hands. Don't let me down. Performance heads on, people. Come on, let's do this.
There was I really enjoyed that performance between Eve and Stacey and showing how, no, you're not going down. Well, I'm not letting you do Well, I'm not letting you do that. Well, someone get on with it because he's going to die on the floor. So someone do something.
And the ambulance men are knocking on the door. Someone let them in and get out.
Yeah.
No, it was.
It
was great though, because, like, again, edge of your seat for the entire time. It's like, how the hell is this all going to play out? It was so well done. Freddie kind of falls apart and ends up getting himself arrested for attempted murder. So really, the whole thing was utterly pointless. Because they still arrested Freddie. They may as well have put Theo's body in the wheelie bin for all the good it did them.
Yes and no, though, because he got arrested for that initially, because obviously then they had to do further investigation with getting the statements and stuff. You were always going to get arrested for that once he did admitted to
absolutely.
his part,
Richie saved the day. I don't think Richie did save the day, but Richie was the perfect person to go down and deal with everything. As soon as you saw that Phil was watching the proceedings, and you remember, I mean, let's be honest. There's one thing that Kat married to Phil has got them. It means that the Slaters have got Richie at their disposal whenever they want her. So that's brilliant. That's going to sort them out for the next few years. It's always nice to see Richie as well. Love Richie. I want that woman to have her own duff one day, because she's never had one, and I think she deserves one after all these years of loyal service as a B character. Give Richie
what was the lawyer called before Richie? He had a male guy, didn't he?
Marcus Christie.
Marcus
Christie.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, Freddie ends up getting released on bail, and so Jean instantly decides, right, you need to go see Little Mo. You need to go stay with Little Mo while this all sort of the dust settles on this, because we don't know whether Theo is actually going to be alive by the time you get back. So you just go and see Little Mo. We're not going to see Little Mo at any point during this, are we?
No, that's what I wondered. Do you know what? In my head this week, I was like, she's going to come back for Christmas, right? She's going to be the 7th one. It's going to be Graham on the floor, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be Little Mo. Maybe she'd get an eye in. No, I didn't think that. But I did have it in my head. Yeah, she's going to... No, got no chance of her coming back now.
No.
Obviously, we know why Freddie's been written out, don't we?
Oh, yeah, because Freddie's going to go...
Bobby Brazier.
Well,
he is cha-cha-cha-cha-cha.
He is cha-cha-cha. And he's doing very, very well, from what I hear as well. It's interesting. I kind of... Because by the end of the week, Jack arrives and says, right, well, Theo's come around and his statement does not match yours. And that's after Freddie's disappeared. Now, I feel like that is Freddie gone now until he finishes cha-cha-cha-cha-charing.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing here is I think what Theo's done, I don't know, but I think what might have happened here is that Theo has removed Freddie from the events completely and has just stuck it all on Stacey. Which is how they're going to be. Which is how, and then come on, it's Walford Police. I think they're going to be like, oh, so we don't need to interview Freddie anymore because the person who it's happened to has said that it wasn't Fred, or he will say that Stacey was the one that attacked him and that Freddie is sticking up for her, or something like that. You know, it's... I
mean, it doesn't... In some respects, it doesn't make sense that Freddie's gone because they would still need to be questioning him. But how far away does Little Mo live exactly?
I think it's Exeter.
How far is that from London?
That's down like...
I know it's further south, but...
quite a lot. It's quite a long way on the train. Yeah, he shouldn't be.
So
basically,
it's not like he could come back for questioning. Is what I mean.
No, he shouldn't be there while he's on bail. Put it like that. But again, which again is why I think that whatever Theo has said is going to remove Freddie from their inquiries, because then he's free to sort of be wherever he needs to be. And then it.
I wonder how in depth the forensic evidence is going to go. Like I just kept thinking when she were initially going to go to his house, I thought, what if they go and examine his house and find hair fibers there? And are they going to examine his car and see that she was sat in his front seat? Because she's got long hair. It's going to, leave a trail.
Well, Stacey has managed to get herself a restraining order at last. So presumably, he's not going to be allowed to live next door to her anymore.
No.
So he's going to have to go off. And presumably that would also mean that he's not going to be allowed to teach her daughter as well, you would think, surely.
Because it wouldn't against everyone in a family as well.
Yeah, so he's not going to be allowed anywhere near
now.
Wolford.
He's got the SPA's active, so the school would surely go right. Yeah,
off you go. Yeah. So now obviously Theo is alive. So we're only a couple of months away from December, so he's still in the running.
You know what he's going to have said? He's going to say that Stacey invited him in, like you were saying before. Although I don't know how his head would be able to speak right now and know anything, let alone lie about what went on. But maybe he's going to remember it as genuinely that, well, Stacey invited me in. We got a bit carried away in the kitchen, and the next thing, Freddie's come and got the complete wrong end of the stick.
Yeah, probably. There
was no wrench involved. Blah, blah. I think that's probably just what he's going to say. But also, he's guilty, so he's going to not say the same thing as them two anyway. So to me, it's kind of null. Like, surely they've now got enough evidence. They've got stuff from his flat, haven't they? Presumably this shrine that's in there. So
we don't know. No, that we don't know.
I know, but I'm saying presumably the shrine that's in there. Yeah,
he's probably got at least 6 pictures of Stacey on his bedroom ceiling. You know, he's at that level of weirdo. That was very ladylike. Honestly, the audio, if you had to just see the way that Ree kind of delicately went away from off there.
I was trying to be subtle, and now he's made a big deal about it. So I might as well have just coughing. That's
what you should have done. There we are. I mean, apart from a few little niggly things that we can, but other than that, I thought everything in this storyline was so strong. Like, the performances were amazing, the writing was tight, the direction was fantastic. Like, it was just really, really and I loved the fact that we didn't know how big it was going to go. Like that's the sign of a good week.
I just couldn't fault it this week. Did not see it coming. When your heart's pounding when you're watching something, you know they're doing something right, because I honestly, it were next level this week. So
Yeah,
I
really,
just don't
really
know.
good.
I just my only gripe with it is that Freddie's now gone, and
Yeah,
that
but this is
that
what I
shouldn't have
mean.
happened.
This is what I mean.
Mm.
This is why I think that Freddie is going to be null and void in terms of the investigation. Like Theo
Yeah,
will
you
have
might
said
have a
that Freddie
point.
Theo will have said that Freddie has got nothing to do with it. If he hasn't said that, then I'm with you completely. But
But if he
it's
has
got
said
to be.
that, then surely it's done, because they know that Freddie were involved and is admitted to it, and is
No, but what he might
there's
no, but what
evidence there.
yeah,
That he
but
were there.
what Theo might say is that Freddie is sticking up for Stacey because he knows that Stacey did it, and he's saying that he did it. That's the other thing that they can.
But I think there's enough literal forensic evidence to
Yeah,
show that Freddie did do it. So
we'll have to wait and see. It's Walford Police. Anything is possible. They could arrest
very
Patrick
true.
for it by the next week. You never know. You know how they work. So there we are then. Yeah, really, really, really strong. Another really, really, really strong week. The show
I
is
feel like I've just relived it
I
talking
know.
about it.
The show, your
I feel
heart's
exhausted.
thudding, you're sweating, it's all marvellous.
Yeah.
Gold star.
God, I'm stuck. Do I give it
Mm.
to Freddie or do I give it to Simon Ashdown? Do I go whole?
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to Freddie because we're not going to see him for a while. It's Freddie for me this week.
And I mean, I love Simon Ashdown, but I feel like because we are building up the gold stars, the gold stars
True.
may be relevant at some point before the end of the year. Just saying. I'm going to give mine to Stacey. So Stacey and Freddie, quite rightly, our gold stars this week. What a week it was. Right then, ladies and gents, final part of the podcast is comments from you guys. Before we get to comments, I almost forgot amongst the madness of this week. We had a big old announcement this week. We all the way home. We have had an announcement. We have had an announcement of a return. It was said, Chris Clenshaw had said a couple of weeks ago that there are returns coming, and the first one has been announced because Lauren Branning is making an explosive comeback to Walford as Jacqueline Josser is set to reprise her role in the coming months. Jacqueline was last seen on screen this June when her character travelled to France to spend some time with Peter and their son Louis, but things soon took a turn for the worse when Lauren discovered Peter was keeping a huge secret from her. His mum, Cindy, was alive. The Beals have since returned to Walford, but just what brings Lauren back to the square is yet to be revealed. Excited? You like Lauren, don't you? You're a big Lauren fan.
I don't know. I think I'm more a fan of Jacqueline Josser, actually.
Oh, right,
I don't know
okay.
whether. Well, one or the either way.
Either way,
I'm here for it.
You're pleased. I'm pleased. I figured that Lauren was going to make a return quite soon at some point. It makes total sense. She's got a lot of connections. She's got the Beals, the Foxes, the Carters. And this is the thing with Lauren. I am convinced, 100% sure, by this time next year we'll have Max back as well. Telling you now, Max will be back this time next year.
Surely.
Yeah. Because actually, I've said this already, but there is a lot of story for Max waiting to happen. As soon as Lauren finds out about Annie, Max is going to come back. You've got everything now. You've got Cindy back, for God's sake. And I've said, Cindy and Max will be fire on screen together. They just match, and they've got the whole Stephen thing to sort out.
Sorry, didn't calling Jacqueline Joseph. Didn't Lauren come back for Dot's funeral and say stuff to Linda about Annie already?
Yeah, but she doesn't know that it's Max's, I don't think.
I mean, look at her.
Yeah, like a little ginger baby running around. It's not going to take much to work out, is it? So yeah. I think she knows that she knows that they had an affair, but I don't think she knows that Annie is
the timings,
is Max's. Exactly. So yeah, lots to do. Exciting. I'm pleased. I am pleased because Lauren's a great character, and you sort of forget how amazing an actress Jacqueline Josser is as well. Like I went back a little bit and watched a few old Lauren clips, and she is electric when she's on screen. She really is. Like Lauren's alcoholism storyline was incredible. Like she was great at that. Amazing.
I mean, it was far-fetched at the time how extreme it went so quickly, but she was very good at it.
She was very good at it. Yeah. So yeah, very exciting. So we'll have Lauren back in the coming months. Do you think she'll be back before Christmas, or do you reckon it's going to be a next year thing?
Oh, I don't know. Possibly before Christmas. The timing seems appropriate with everything with the Beals and Peter. Yeah, possibly. You're thinking
Screw it.
after?
I think after, but then screw it. Let's throw
Mm.
Max in as a suspect for the floor. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? We have comments, I do believe, Ree. What is our first one, please?
This is from our Instagram page from Renaissance Costume, who said, "This week was a big surprise. Loved Lacey's performance. It reminded me of the live episode from 2010 for some reason. Do you think EastEnders will ever do another live show? I've had doubts, but this year the show has raised the bar. What do
Ooh.
you think?"
There, that would be oh, my words. I tell you, I'm about to drive a car soon. Someone's gonna die. Yeah, I think that would be really, really interesting. We haven't had a live episode in any of the soaps for quite a while now. I think the last live episode I think was when Corrie did one for ITV's 60th anniversary.
Oh yeah, which were a bit disappointing.
Yeah, it's a bit crap. But I don't know whether it's a thing with soaps anymore. They've sort of done it. I feel like the big anniversaries, it kind of became a bit of a staple that they do a live episode, and they've recently gone a little bit different with it. However, if anyone was going to do a live episode, it should be EastEnders again.
Could you imagine? I know this would never happen, but if they did Christmas Day live, how insane would that be?
I'd love, in a dream world, Christmas Day live.
And there'd be no spoilers. There'd be no spoilers.
In a dream world, Christmas Day live would be incredible. Like you say, it's never going to happen in a million years, but that would.
I mean,
would
I know
amazing.
Actors want to be with their families and everything, but come on,
get a grip. Our needs are greater. Come on, EastEnders. I mean, yeah, for the 40th, it would be amazing. I wouldn't mind a live episode because they are just naturally exciting, aren't they? And EastEnders has knocked all their live episodes out of the park. I mean, I know it was only done 2, but technically they did quite a few live things for the first year. There was like segments live, obviously the Olympics live stuff. That was amazing as well. So they've got a good track record with it. I don't know if soaps really do it anymore. I think it costs a lot, and obviously the soaps aren't the mammoth thing that they once were. So I don't know whether the channels are sort of thinking it's not worth investing in that much. I don't know. Anything is possible. I'd like to see another live one, but whether we get another live one remains to be seen. But good question. Renaissance Costume. Interesting name. I like that. Right, so next comment. We've got an email from Brandon Reed who says, "Hey, Robin Reed, I hope you are well." We are, Brandon. Thank you very much for asking. How are you? I just wanted to share a cool idea I had for Christmas with EastEnders. EastEnders should do some kind of online advent calendar where they do a small video every day in December leading up to Christmas. The video could start showing an EastEnders themed calendar, maybe like yours, where it zooms into each spot, and instead of chocolate, we are given a small hint about what will be happening on Christmas Day / Eve. Ooh, clues. It would be such an exciting promotional idea and keep people hyped all through December. Not to mention it could incorporate and show multiple stories to constantly keep us guessing. Hope you like the idea. Have a great day, Brandon. I do like that idea. That is exciting, potentially. I wonder whether there are 25 possible clues leading us up to Christmas.
Well, that's for EastEnders to think of. Brandon's giving them the great marketing idea.
That's their problem, not Brandon's. Yes, quite right. It's not our problem, EastEnders. That's for you to sort out. Brandon's come up with an excellent promotional idea there. Get on it.
Very good idea.
Yeah, I like that. That would be good, actually. And do you know what? If any era was going to do the promotional thing, I think EastEnders have really upped their promos recently, haven't they? It has been good.
Do you know what I've been loving? Sorry,
go on.
The oh God, I can't even think what it's called now. Day in the Life of.
Oh yes, loving them.
Yesterday, I'm loving those. Yeah, keep those up, please.
Yeah, they've done a Lacey Turner one. I think they did a Gillian Taylorforth one as well, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm loving
I like them. I like them. And finally, an email from Claire Adigan. Monday's episode tying together the 3 bad men, Tony, Graham and Theo, was so well done. Stacey speaking to baby Charlie so poignantly about good and bad men made me cry. And Stacey's later narration after she lost in court to Theo summarised the Me Too movement. She sounded utterly defeated as the bad men go on with their lives, leaving victims to deal with trauma. Graham is very creepy, and he seems to set his sights on his assistants after defriending Freddie, one of the good men. EastEnders has truly raised the quality of soaps and is in a class by itself. Hard to argue. I mean, I don't want
Agreed.
I don't want what we said was sort of any of the niggles we had about this week to take away from what they were actually trying to do here at all. Like, it was a really it was very well done for the most part. There was just a couple of bits where I was just like, was that deliberate? I mean, it's interesting as well, because actually, if you look back over the history of soap women, I'm going back as far as, the likes of Elsie Tanner, Bette Lynch, Mandy Jordache in Brookside, they are all, every time you think of a strong soap woman, 9 times out of 10, they are as a result of what they've had to go, them picking themselves up from male behavior. So it's kind of like a staple of the soap women to have had to deal with a toxic man in their life at some point, or a man who has done something to them to kind of make them have to be stronger. So it was a kind of good continuation of that this week. And EastEnders is full of those sorts of strong female characters. So yeah, it was lovely. And yeah, the Me Too movement wasn't lost on me either. Absolutely.
I agree. I think I hope they're going to keep building on this Stacey stuff, to be honest, and maybe make more of a point of this is what happens, and it's only when it gets to a stage where you can't do anything more, like, the attempted rape, that then they go, oh yeah, actually, yeah, we'll
might have had a point.
Yeah, now.
Yeah, might have had a point.
Shit's literally hit the fan now, so yeah, we'll do it. No, there's no prevention involved, is there, in these kind of scenarios? So I hope they keep that message going at least.
It's an important message, yeah. It's and Corrie did one of those recently with their acid attack storyline, where it's like, look where it's had to get.
Yeah,
to,
very similar. Very similar.
And again, like completely different stories, but like a similar message in the fact that you want to start paying attention to what these women are actually saying, please. Like,
they were kind of different stories, but there were a lot of similarities in it, actually. Yeah, definitely.
But, so yeah, some really, really, really strong, thought-provoking stuff this week. Again, like Claire says, the show's just on another level. You run out of ways to say it at the moment, which is just the best way it could possibly be. Amazing. If you'd like your email read, or you have anything to say to us, or any questions, any comments, any feedback, you can do the following.
You can find us on Facebook at Albert Square After Dark, on Instagram and Twitter at E20 After Dark. You can like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, Albert Square After Dark, and find us on all your favourite podcast sites. You can email us at e20afterdarkpodcast@gmail.com. And if you'd like to buy us a coffee, you can do so by going on buymeacoffee.com/E20 After Dark.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Ree. I hope you sleep well tonight.
Thanks, Rob. Same to you.
You wait. Next time you see us, we'll be refreshed. We'll be different human beings. We'll just rejuvenated. We'll be like Pokemon. We'll have evolved. We'll just look fabulous. Right. So we should be back same time next week. And let's hope. We know it'll be another great week of Albert Square, because that, my friends, is the Clenners era. Until then, it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Bye.